Welcome to topic 4.5, Maritime Empires Develop. AP World History Modern. This map and maps like it should be lasered into your brain before the exam in May. DBQ on this. And multiple choice questions, stimulus based. I bet you the Atlantic slave trade, the triangle trade system is going to be in there somewhere. So make sure you're familiar with it. Not the first time we've talked about it. On the right, you see there a political cartoon. I'm going to try to get us to wrap our brains around a term called mercantilism. Can be confusing, kind of be hard to understand. Some of this stuff hopefully sounds familiar from your economics class. I don't know how long it's been since you guys have had economics. All right, let's make sure we're staying on point here. What the College Board is laying down, we need to be picking up. Let's check in with our course and exam description. What are the learning objectives? After you watch this video, read the text, watch a Heimler video, maybe do your progress checks. You should be able to answer these questions. Explain how rulers employed economic strategies to consolidate and maintain power throughout the period from 1450 to 1750. Explain the continuities and changes in networks of exchange. Explain how political, economic, and cultural factors affected society. Explain the similarities and differences in how various belief systems affected societies. From what years? You guessed it, 1450 to 1750. Okay, let's look at the big picture. Before we start a lecture, I'd like to kind of give you an idea. What are the main things we're going to be talking about? What's our big ideas here? As the title suggests, maritime empires are expanding. Maritime empires are going to transform commerce from local, small-scale trading, right, these little bartering systems, to huge, large-scale international trade using gold and silver. Think of like somebody selling stuff out of their garage, and then boom, Amazon, right? These empires employed new economic models such as joint stock companies. I think that's another term you probably went over in econ, through which investors finance trade by using shares in corporations such as the East India Company, supporting increased trade in a global economy. The Atlantic trading system involved the movement of labor, including slaves, and the mixing of African, American, and European cultures and peoples, with all groups contributing to a cultural synthesis. Here's your big three products here. Silver, sugar, and slavery were the keys to the development of these mercantilist empires. Now, I am trying to follow our textbook. I am trying to follow the CED, but here's what I don't want to happen, and which happens a lot. I noticed a long time ago, whether it's high school or undergraduates, sometimes I taught a business history of the United States for undergrads. Probably the most boring class ever. But I noticed if I just start talking about mercantilism, the students will let me sit there for 3 hours, give a lecture, and at the end of the lecture, I realize they don't know what mercantilism really is. So did I just waste 3 hours of their time, right? So I want to kind of take a proactive approach here. And let's try to break this thing down. It's a confusing thing to understand. So I'm going to kind of take a sidetrack here. Let's get our academic definition out of the way. Economic theory and practice common in Europe from the 16th to the 18th century that promoted governmental regulation of a nation's economy for the purpose of augmenting state power at the expense of rival national powers. The heck does that mean? Relax, I got you. I'm going to show you a bunch of images. I think this is one of those things where, man, seeing some images Helps you understand it better. So you got colonies. They're selling their goods, their raw materials to the mother country. And they're selling it cheap, really cheap. Why are they doing that? Because they have to. They're being forced to. It's a shakedown, man. This is a monopoly wrapped up inside of imperialism. So they're selling their things like gold, silver, fur, lumber, food. Fur trade, Detroit River, man. The French fur trade back in the day, big money maker. 5 minutes from our school, the Detroit River. Hotel Pontchartrain, French. The French fur trade was huge in Detroit. Big money. So you'd have people working here in Detroit on the Detroit River with all these pelts and furs. But they're selling them to the mother country, in our case, France or England. And then the mother country takes those things, they do stuff with it, they manufacture. So they're manufacturing like raw goods, natural resources. Then the mother country sells it at a high price. These manufactured goods, guess who would buy a lot of them? The colonies. You're selling low, you're buying high. It sucks for you, bro. But it works out really good for the mother country. So mercantilism, it really screws a little guy, the colonies. But it's a big money maker for the mother country. And this is some hardcore stuff they're into, man. These guys, mercantilism is going to get into drug dealing, human trafficking, slavery. I mean, some pretty bad stuff that you go to jail for today. Let me say this in another way. Mercantilism. It's an economic system. The mother country exports more than it imports. And it stockpiles gold and silver, which I'll explain. So on the bottom here, this is your academic, I forgot where I got this from. Maybe Britannica or something. This is your academic definition, but a lot of times that doesn't really make sense either. So here's just me taking a stab at it. And I'm going to break it down more in a minute. Right now, let's look at some visuals, man. Visuals are a good way to learn things. Your mind works in pictures. Your mind's visual. You think visually. So here's a European view. Gold and silver, they're hoarding it. Okay, right now it's 2020. I just got back from Costco. Man, no paper towels, no toilet paper. People are hoarding it, right? Corona. Well, back then, mercantilism, the mother countries, they're hoarding gold and silver. And then the balance of trade, it favors the mother country. They export more than they import. Then here's that diagram I just showed you on the last one. Here's another visual that can help you understand this. Again, we're sticking with mercantilism here. Mother country sells to the colony. Colony sells to the mother country. Colony sells cheap, buys high, buys expensive. But here's what's not happening. Colonies are not doing business with the colonies. No, no, no. Again, this is mafioso stuff. Don't you dare try to go into business for yourself, bro. There will be a price to pay. This is a shakedown. The colonies said, man, I'm selling stuff to the mother country so cheap. If I could do business with some of these other colonies, man, I could make some bank. But I'm not allowed to, or the mother country's going to lay the smack down. So they're strong-arming them. This is a really good political cartoon. I really like this one. This really does, I think, a great job explaining it, really. So kind of hit pause and check this out. I'm going to go through it real quick. But you'll kind of get it if you analyze this political cartoon. This political cartoon would make a great DBQ, actually. A document for a DBQ. I might make you a DBQ on this. I think I'm going to use this as one of my documents. So here you see the colonies. They got raw goods. So here you see this guy right here. I hope you can see this arrow. I'm assuming you can. He's selling these raw goods, a colony, to the mother country. He's selling it for coin, cheap. Here he goes. Mother country takes it. Mother country takes it. They manufacture it. They turn it into something. And when something comes out, it's a manufactured good. They sell it back to the colonies at a big price. Colonies are getting a raw deal, man. They're getting paid in coin. They're paying with bags of money. Mother country's huge profit. Then you see the colonies here. You see this guy. He goes, even though the pay stinks, we should only trade with the mother country. It's for our own good. Meaning, if we don't, they're going to lay a smackdown. But do you see how much more this guy is paying? They're like, man, if I could do business with homeboy over here, I'd make a ton of money. But I can't. I'm not allowed to do this under mercantilism. Mother country is laying the law down. It's a shakedown. Foreign markets got to go to the mother country. Can't deal directly with the colonies. Okay, again, hit pause and just kind of analyze this. I think that's a real good. I like that one a lot. Here's some more visuals for you. Check them out. You see this common theme, hoarding gold. An imbalanced trade. Mother country, more exports than they have imports. Mother country, manufactured goods, colonies, gold, silver, fur, lumber, foodstuffs goes to the mother country. You see that cycle there. So there's some more visuals for you. Kind of hit pause, check them out. That'll help you understand it. Okay, so you got the textbook academic definition. I gave you some visuals. Now let me kind of break it down kind of my way here. Okay, it's an economic system. A favorable balance of trade. Now, when I say favorable, it's favorable to the mother country, not to the colonies. They felt wealth was static. In other words, there's only so much. Think of if we go down to Roman Village and get the party pizza, there's only so many slices in that pizza. So they kind of felt like wealth, there's only so much of it. So we need to keep our gold and silver so we keep the wealth. This is used to gain power, political power, military power, economic power. They want to obtain colonies. Of course you do. Because mercantilism, man, they're working for your benefit. I'm talking huge profit margin. Obtain raw materials. Turn them into manufacturing goods, manufactured goods. And the idea is to control these colonies and you force them to send their stuff to the mother countries. And like we're talking about like Spain, France, England. You cannot trade with each other, right? So it's a great way to get the mother country to come in there and just wipe everybody out. The mother country, by using mercantilism, has created what? They've created a monopoly. So again, you should be like getting flashbacks to your econ class right now. So anyway, that's me taking a side road on mercantilism because I've learned over the years if I just start lecturing, the whole time I'm talking, nobody really gets mercantilism. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Economic strategies. All right. Now I'm kind of back on track here, if you will, with our AMSCO text and the CD. So I got 4 takeaways for you on economic strategies. What I have here is kind of an outline to help you take your notes. Now I talked about a couple of these. So the first one, I'm going to give you 4 takeaways for economic strategies. The amount of wealth of a country is measured by how much gold and silver it actually holds, physically has. The second one is to keep this wealth, countries would spend very little on goods from other countries. The third one is the accumulation of capital, money, material wealth available to produce what? More wealth. In Western Europe, as Western Europe grew, entrepreneurs entered long distance markets. So, the old cliche, it takes money to make money, but when you got a ton of money, like when COVID first hit, when they first canceled school, stock market went way down. And I read somewhere, I don't know if it's one of the Rockefellers? or Rothschilds, one of them. They said, buy stock when there's blood in the street. When the stock market tanks, that's the time to buy. It's a fire sale. So, man, I bought some stocks. One of the stocks I bought was Ford. I mean, right now it's like November of 2020. COVID hit in March. Those stocks I bought, they doubled already. Now, I put a modest amount of money in there, some side cash I had. I wanted to go more, but my wife wouldn't let me. And, man, if I would have put a few $1 million, I could have turned $1 million into about 2.2 million. Right? So when you got a ton of money, it's not that hard to turn it into more. And that's what they're doing here. You know, that's their idea. Okay, so anyway, number 4, economic strategies. Capital changed hands from entrepreneurs to laborers, putting laborers in a better position to become consumers and even investors. And we see this throughout history, even locally. Henry Ford, once he does the $5 day, his workers can now buy Ford cars. They could afford the cars they were building, so that works. So there's 4 things for economic strategies. Now, this transformation to a trade-based economy using gold and silver, it's known as the commercial revolution. The commercial revolution affected all regions of the world and resulted from 4 key factors. 1, the development of European overseas colonies. 2, the opening of new ocean trade routes. 3, population growth. 4, inflation. The high rate of inflation, or general rise in prices, is the 16th and early 17th century, is called what? The price revolution. This was caused by increased population and increased amounts of gold and silver that was mined and put into circulation. Now, what the heck does that mean? Again, think back to your econ class. Remember inflation? You remember going over that? When prices go up of goods. Okay, it reminds me of driving down Vernon with my dad. It's like 1976. And it popped into my head. I see, we used to visit some people that were in the Vietnam War. A lot of guys in southwest Detroit had their lives turned sideways by the Vietnam War. And my uncles on Cahalan served in Vietnam. Luckily, they came back in pretty good shape compared to a lot of their friends. And we'd bring them food. They had it's hard for them to keep a job. A lot of them had gotten addicted to heroin over in Vietnam. And I said, man, that sucks, man. That, they're so poor and they're living the way they're living. It's not like we had a ton of money either, but I could tell even as a little kid they weren't that well off. And I said to my dad, I said, hey, Dad, I'll never forget this. I go, why don't we just print a whole bunch of money and give everybody $500,000 each? So everybody would be okay. There wouldn't be any poor people anymore. And my dad was like, well, it's a nice idea, but it wouldn't work. I'm like, why? He goes, well, 1, that's communism. And I'll tell you about that later. It's a different conversation. So he tells me a little bit about the history of the Soviet Union, why communism doesn't work. But then he told me, if you print all that money, the money would be worthless. You would be giving people $500,000. It would be worth almost nothing. And I go, I don't get it. He goes, because you made so much of it, it devalues the currency. It's not worth anything anymore. You got $500,000 of practically nothing. You can't just start printing money. It devalues the currency. So hopefully, I'm brushing off some of the cobwebs from your econ class. So that's inflation. So again, I'm taking these little side roads here. This lesson for AP World History kind of assumes you remember all your stuff from econ. And I know that's not always the case, right? You might have had econ 2 years ago, or maybe you haven't had it. I'm not even sure if you guys have had it. I need to know that, actually. So anyway, that's inflation. Aiding the rise of this extended global economy was the formation of joint stock companies. They were owned by investors who bought stock or shares in them. People invested capital in such companies and shared both the profits and the risk of exploration and trading ventures. It offered limited liability, the principle that an investor was not responsible for a company's debts or other liabilities beyond the amount of an investment made, investing much safer. Okay, now that's your textbook explanation. What the heck does that really mean? Joint stock companies kind of, man, it's weird, man. It's interesting. Man, you know what? I gotta get rid of this. It's interesting. A joint stock company. It's a corporation. It's kind of like the first corporation. Now, if a history teacher was listening to me tell you this, they might punch me in the liver right now. Because I think technically you can go back to the Roman Empire for the first corporation. But as far as it being like in full motion, having this much of a global impact, joint stock companies are going to be like your first corporation. But they're not like a corporation you think of today. Even though some people with a more radical view may disagree with me. They had a power, man, like military and political power. And the governments were chartering these joint stock companies. Like if you look at the flag in the video here. Now, when you see a flag, you think, well, it's from a country, right? So what country is that flag from? Have you ever seen that before? I'm guessing you haven't. It doesn't represent a country. It represents a joint stock company, the East India Company. This is a company with their own flag. So what the heck is going on here? Well, these companies needed, like, we used to call it back in the day seed money. Like, man, I need some seed money. Like, let's say, I do catering on the side, barbecue. I do competition barbecue. I've won a few contests, but say, hey, man, you know what? I think I want to get my own restaurant. I need about $3 million, man. I need about $3 million to really get rolling. Hey, guess what? I ain't got $3 million. So I get like a silent investor, silent partner, puts up the money. I got to make it work. I got to give them their investment back. And then some. They want to make some money off. So they give me what I want. I say, hey, man, I got this idea. Look, I've won multiple contests with my barbecue. I've come in first place. People love it. I got a great concept. I just need to get the restaurant moving. You don't got to do nothing, bro. Just help me. Give me my seed money, my startup money. And I can pay you back, and then I can pay you back so much over the original investment. That's kind of what these corporations and people would buy stocks. Think, like in other words, think of Shark Tank. If you've ever seen Shark Tank, like, I got an idea, I got a concept, I got a product, I got everything except what? The capital. Man, to really get this ball rolling, I need $2 million. You give me $2 million, bro, in 10 years, I'll pay you back $4 million. You'll make $2 million. Oh, you get to sit on your yacht having parties while I'm doing all the work. You're going to make $2 million off me. You give me $2 million, I'll pay you back $4 million. I just need the resources. I need to get started, man. I need my seed money. So that's kind of what the East India Company is. So they had their own flag. And there's like their crest. And there's like a portrait. Now you can see in the portrait, right? The artist is doing a lot here. You see Europeans here, British. You see they're not in England. These dudes ain't from England, right? I'm not really sure where they're from, but it's not England. We know that. What do they have here? Look at this. They got a cannon with probably a slave or an indentured servant pointing the cannon. So if someone's pointing a gun at your head, this is mercantilism. The colonies didn't want to do it, right? But this is like these negotiations. This is a Luca Brasi negotiation. Like either your signature or your brains are going to be on this contract in about 3 seconds, right? Which one do you want it to be? So this is at gunpoint that they're agreeing to this stuff. So probably the most famous joint stock company was the East India Company. So I just want to answer basic questions on the East India Company, right? It's a video, so you can't ask me questions. So I'll ask myself questions. What was the East India Company? The East India Company was an English company formed for the exploitation of trade with East and Southeast Asia and India. Why was it established? It's established to serve as a trading body for English merchants, specifically to participate in the East Indian spice trade. And it later added items such as cotton, silk, tea, opium. What the heck's opium? I could be wrong, but I think it's what they make heroin out of. I was never a drug guy. I don't know anything about drugs. But I think opium is a main ingredient of heroin. They're going to get China hooked on heroin or on opium. So these guys this East India Company is involved in dirty stuff, man. These are, it's not much different than, I used to walk by the neighborhood drug dealer every day on my way to school. On Pitt. I think it was Pitt. And it's just, it's kind of the same thing, just a bigger scale. When does it start? It starts New Year's Eve, 1600. So we're talking the beginning of the 17th century. What impact does it have on world trade and networks of exchange, right? Networks of exchange is a big topic for AP World History. Well, one impact it had is forcing people and regions to become colonies. And if they couldn't force you to do it, if they couldn't muscle their way in and squeeze you and, do the Lugabrazi negotiation, they would partner with you or make you an ally, at least have an alliance. At its height, the East India Company, they're rolling 260,000 deep. Now, I'm not talking about little nerds that were like accountants. I'm talking guys with guns. They had their own frickin' hit squad. Mercenaries. Their own army. Again, this is a company. It's not a country. They got a flag and they got an army. They got power, man. They got military power. And just to put it in perspective, Great Britain, like the charter for the East India Company, their army, like the government's army of Great Britain at this time, they got like half that many dudes. So East India Company's rolling a hit squad with twice as many soldiers as the frickin' British government. So they got serious power. They got their army and they got their backup is Great Britain, who has, at the time, the world's greatest navy. And they're responsible for almost half of Britain's trade, the East, in this one company. So Great Britain wants them to succeed. And they're involved from everything, from getting China hooked on opium. They they were illegal drug dealers, man. They were shipping opium to China on the down low. And they're involved in the worst thing you can be involved with, man. The international slave trade, man, with human trafficking. So you can see, like, man, no wonder the mother country's making so much money. You dictate how much you pay for goods. You dictate how much you sell it for. People are forced to sell goods cheap to you, and then they're forced to buy it from you when you manufacture it at a high rate. You got slave labor, and you're slinging drugs on the side. You're getting the most populous country in the world hooked on smack. So no wonder the mother countries are making so much money. And then, it's stuff like this where you get, I talk about reparations. The fortunes that are built, we're talking about 17th century. Dude, that money's still there today. There's families right now chilling, living in palaces because of the fortunes that were made back then off the backs of slaves and drug dealing. So this stuff's still relevant. You can still see the effect. Like, you're talking about networks of exchange, you see the causes and effects. You can see it today, man. But, all empires fall. Why did the East India Company eventually fail? We had like the Indian Revolution. It's all perspective. I think our book used the term Indian Mutiny. But, is it a mutiny or is it a revolution, right? Like, hey, man, we're not here. Like, we don't exist just to make you rich, right? This is a common theme in history. Why, just because our skin's darker than yours or we live in a different country, you think, like, we're disposable? Like, we just exist to make you rich? Nah, bro. But it took a while. You're talking... Like, the East India Company doesn't cease to exist until, like, 1873. So you're talking, 275 years, man, that they're doing this. The other joint stock company, probably the second most famous, is the Dutch East Indian Company. The Dutch, they're longtime commercial middlemen of Europe, and they set up, maintain trade routes in Latin America, South America, North America, and Indonesia. Dutch ships, one thing the Dutch had going for them, like their ships were lighter than most of their rivals, and they were faster. So, some things never change, man. Time is money. So you can get there faster. Ships are lighter. You have more cargo space. You're going to make more money. They're making big bank in the Spice Islands in Southeast Asia. Now, triangular trade. Oh, by the way, sorry, I was a little behind here. Check out this logo here. That logo's of the Dutch East Indian Company. You see this ship? Usually a ship would be flying the flag of the country they're from. This ship ain't flying the flag of a country. They're flying the flag of a joint stock company, a corporation, the Dutch East Indian Company. That's their logo. So you ever see this like on a FRQ or MCQ? That's the Dutch East Indian Company. They have their own flag. Again, these are corporations. These are joint stock companies. They have their own flag, their own ships. Sounds like I'm talking about a country, right? Triangular trade, man. You might be sick of me showing you these maps, but you gotta laser this into your brain. Slaves to the Americas, sugar, tobacco, and cotton to Europe, textiles, rum, manufactured goods to Africa. This one's a really stripped down version of the triangular trade. It was actually more complex. This is a good one here if you look at this. And this is what I mean about language and impact. Like, again, what do I care about history? I know I've talked about this, but to me it's so powerful. It hits home on a personal level too. But let's say you never read a history book in your life. You never took a history class in high school. You don't know anything about history. If you're traveling the world today, you go down anywhere here in green. Hey, man, I'm in Mexico, right? I'm in Chile, wherever I'm at. I'm on the West Coast here, South America. All this rich indigenous history. What language are we speaking, bro? Oh, we're speaking Spanish? Huh. Why is everybody speaking Spanish? Well, I guess at some point, the Spanish conquered this area. Now, let's say you're on vacation in Brazil. You're sitting on a Brazilian beach, chilling. You don't know anything about history. And you're like, man, I'm in South America. I thought they spoke Spanish down here. I thought, don't they have like an indigenous language? Nope. No, this dude's speaking Portuguese. I guess Portugal rolled this area at some point. Like, you know that without learning any history. You look here in the red, America, Native Americans. No, everybody's speaking English. Well, I guess the British conquered this area. Look at us here in Detroit, Michigan. It's yellow. What's yellow on the key? France. Well, it's been a while since everybody walking down Woodward spoke French, but the influence is still there. Look at Detroit. It's a French word, Detroit. Look at the roads. If you were driving around Paris, the roads would look pretty familiar. The structure. Detroit was designed, the streets, the wagon wheel design. It's similar to Paris. Cadillac, the Pontchartrain Hotel, all these French terms, French named after French explorers. So the French influence in Detroit is still there. Michigan. People here spoke French back in the day. So you still see the influence, like with linguistics. Linguistics will tell, language will tell you a story. So the triangular trade, the Europeans, their desire for enslaved workers, coupled with Portugal's, that's a word I don't like to use, discovery of West Africa, whatever that means, that Africa became the source for new labor. Again, they wanted to enslave the Native Americans, in America, but it wasn't working out. Enslaved Africans became part of a complex Atlantic trading system known as the triangular trade because voyages often had 3 segments. A ship might carry European manufactured goods such as firearms to West Africa and from there transport enslaved Africans to the Americas and then load up with sugar or tobacco to take to Europe. Sugar was the most profitable good from the Americas. By the 1700s, Caribbean sugar products and rum, which is made from sugar, were financing fortunes in Britain and to a lesser extent in France and the Netherlands. Now, don't forget about the Indian Ocean. Things are still going down in the Indian Ocean. Let me see. I got another map. Indian Ocean. Here's the Indian Ocean. This is a good map. All the different trade routes going on. After the Europeans stumble on the Americas, they trade over the Atlantic Ocean and become significant. However, states continue to vie for control of trade routes on the Indian Ocean as well. The Portuguese defeat Muslim and Venetian forces, and the Spanish and Portuguese would control much of this area right here in the Indian Ocean. Again, where's Spain and Portugal? Way over here. Here's Spain. There's little tiny Portugal. But with their maritime empire, they're running the show here. They're making the money. Okay, change and continuities in trade networks. Change and continuities is big in AP world history. The trading networks involved a new global circulation of goods, wealth, and labor. Silver from the Spanish colonies in the Americas flowed to Asia. There's new monopolies going on, chartered by European rulers. And charters, like it's a grant or a guarantee of rights. So it allows you to conduct business. Like, here's a charter. It's almost like a permit, right? Like a restaurant or a bar, they have a permit to serve alcohol. It's like a permit to do business. Spain's going to get rich off of this monopoly. Their big thing's tobacco. Now, this is tough, man. It's some tough history here. Traditional regional markets continue to flourish in Afro-Eurasia. Here's another thing I learned when I just, the book just throws out Afro-Eurasia. I can keep going and nobody will ask me what the heck's Afro-Eurasia. It's pretty simple. If you break down the name, it's easy to understand. Afro-Eurasia refers to 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and Asia. That's it. Here's in the green here. That's Afro-Eurasia. It's a majority of land on the planet. But anyway, so the effects of Atlantic slave trade. You have places like Dahomey and Oyo that, they're selling out their own people, man. They're on the, I'll show you a map in a second. They're like on the west coast of Africa. But they're doing the dirty work, man. If you look here, they're going in and doing slave raids. So they're raiding fellow Africans and getting these slaves ready for them. The Europeans are coming in and picking them up. What they're getting out of the deal is money, but they're also they're buying guns from the Europeans, part of that triangle trade. So the Europeans are really getting a lot of bang for their buck, no pun intended, when they sell firearms to these slave raiding villages in Africa. Because 1, they're making money on the guns. 2, they're making it easier for them to go roll their neighboring villages because they don't have guns. So slave raiding becomes easier for them. Obviously the population goes down, and like 2/3 of all slaves taken are male. So you get things like polygyny going on. Population growth kind of comes back. One like side effect of the triangle trade is they get different foods they didn't have before, like maize, corn, what was it? Cassava, I think like peanuts, stuff like that. So there was, when you have more food, you get more of a population historically. But they would do things like, try to have the Spanish say they're trying to run the show in America, in the Americas, and they put people in charge like viceroys, audiencias, to try to keep order. So if you had a beef, you could take it to a viceroy. If you didn't like what a viceroy had to say, whatever they ruled, whatever they decided, you could go up to an audience. I think of like an appellate court. Like you could appeal, right? But Spain is kind of weird. Like it makes sense though. Like with the Atlantic Ocean, they did all this, but then they found, man, it's too much. We can't really enforce our will because it's so far away. So gradually, Spain kind of turns away from the Western Hemisphere because it's too much to handle. It's impractical, right? So here's this one sometimes surprises people. We talk about the Haitian Revolution later. Just remember this: the sugar, like in Haiti, in the Caribbean islands, it's just, billions of dollars. And just horrible conditions for the slaves. Now, you got this effect on belief system. This is kind of interesting, I think. So you have these things called like syncretic belief systems. What this means is it's like a blending of the culture and the religious beliefs of what already existed in the area, kind of blending with the new influence of their conquerors. When you're talking European, you're talking Roman Catholic Church, Christianity. So you see in this picture, you can see Santeria, where it's like a mix. You see the African presence here with these artifacts, with these symbols. But then you see some Catholic stuff going on. Now, I know back in the day, man, going through Southwest, my grandmother, my mom, people up and down Verner, he went up and down Verner, Central, Springwells, Lawndale, everywhere where I was at. Man, people had a statue of the Virgin Mary in their garden. Now, again, the influence. What do you notice about that statue? Not to get too far off on the tangent, but this is European Christianity, right? If you study like the historical Jesus, like I read a huge book a long time ago called The Historical Jesus by Dominic Cruz. It's not religious; it studies him historically. He was a Palestinian Jew. How in the heck are all these portraits of Jesus and his mom? How are they white? A Palestinian Jew that was white and spoke English? No, bro. He spoke Aramaic. But again, you can see the cultural influence in religion with all these countries. Syncretic's like a hybrid of both. For Dune, you see here African, but you see a saint, you see a statue, you see a figure kind of like Catholicism. So it's just hybrid. There's another one from Africa with Christian influence. You see them going up to the heavens, right? Islam was also imported with slavery too. Now, when I think of syncretic, I don't know about you, but the one I'm most familiar with, back in the day, I don't know how true it is anymore. But back in the day, man, I go visit my friends' houses in the Southwest. Man, everybody's mom or grandma somewhere had a candle or a picture. I think even today, I can go to E&L tomorrow. I think I can buy a candle with the Lady of Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe on it. That's an example of syncretic religion. Like, if you look at this portrait, this definitely isn't European. The Virgin Mary, oh, hey, look at this. Lady of Guadalupe, she's not so white. Oh, hey, look at her hair. It's black. It's dark. Right? Hey, look at the wings here. Look at the colors, the Mexican flag. Look at this dude. This ain't no white European, right? So, cultures adapt religion to fit their culture. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just, it is what it is. But you don't see white Mary here. She's darker complected. Why? Because Lady Guadalupe is in Mexico. So you see the Mexican culture merging with European Roman Catholicism. But historically, again, it's a Palestinian Jew that spoke Aramaic. Look at this, is just, artwork of the Virgin of Guadalupe. What do you notice about her compared to, like, if you look in your history textbook, what you learn in school, like what you learn in your textbooks and in school, when you see this stuff, it's very Eurocentric. It's the European twist, right? One theologian, like when I was on my big theology kick, I was reading like Dominic Crozin and, Karen Armstrong, and a long time ago. I'm trying to look over here. Elaine Padgels, I used to read. One of them, I forgot which one it was. They said, you got to remember when you study religions and history, it's kind of like, if dogs believed in God, God would be a dog, right? So the syncretic religion, you see the culture mixing with this new religion. Here's another picture of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Lady of Guadalupe. Hey, look at that. She's a little darker complected. She's got black hair. Now, this is a little more realistic to what a Palestinian Jew who spoke Aramaic would look like, but this is more Mexican, right? You see the Mexican colors here. So they're incorporating current, cultural and religious beliefs. All right, guys. I hope that made sense. This is a big topic for us. You got some economics in there. You got some theology in there. If you got any questions, let me know. I'll see you next time.